Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today is the final episode of our Turkish ice cream. So super stretchy ice cream, a little bit of science, not too much. We're going to make a luxury dondurma. So yeah, part 3. We did part 1 where we made it with traditional ingredients. Had to try and adjust the manufacturing stage because we just don't have the tools available to hand at home. Stage 2 or part 2 was making a recipe that I found online from a chef in the Philippines that was shockingly bad, possibly one of the worst ice creams I've ever made. And part 3, which is this one, we're not going to go too deep into the history because we've done 2 parts of this dondurma already. So part 3. Let's very briefly talk about what makes Turkish ice cream stretchy. So salep root, that orchid flower, it's the powdered root, dried, powdered, and then added into the dairy base that makes it stretchy. Some places use, or some parts of the world use mastic as well to help boost that stretchiness. It does a little bit to a degree, but I don't think we really need to use that. And it's something else that you don't need to buy as well. So what makes Turkish orchid root or salep orchid root stretchy? When you break it down, in the salep root flour, that Turkish orchid root flour, is a polysaccharide. A polysaccharide is a carbohydrate that is essentially multiple types of sugar or multiple sugar molecules bonded together. Now, the polysaccharide in Turkish orchid root flour is glucomannan. We are quite lucky these days that we can buy glucomannan. We can buy this extracted from other places. So this has likely come from an elephant tuber, or what's commonly known as konjac root. It's a type of yam. So for other parts of the world, it's a type of sweet potato, if you will. It's processed, it's got exactly the same components. We don't have to tear down all those orchid root flowers. We can go for this. This is mass-produced stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a luxury dondurma ice cream. We're going to treat it slightly differently. We're going to try and treat it in exactly the same way we do any other ice cream, but we're going to stretch it, or we're going to perform the stretch, the beat and stretch, right at the end before we serve it up. So what are we going to need for our final part, for our final episode of Turkish dondurma ice cream? We are going to need 450 grams of milk, 350 grams of cream, 120 grams of sugar, 40 grams dextrose, 40 grams of skim milk powder, and 4 grams of glucomannan. Okay, so let's get everything ready right here. So this is nice and easy. We've got our milk and our cream in here. In here we have our sugar, our dextrose, and our glucomannan. So we're just going to stir this together. And we're just going to pour it straight into there. And this is our skim milk powder. We'll pour that in there as well. Give this a nice bit of a stir. And let's get it on the hob. And for this ice cream, we are going to use a vanilla bean. I don't know if that's an authentic flavor, maybe. Let me know in the comments. I know rosewater was and mastic is an authentic flavor, but we're going to splash out and use a vanilla bean. So whilst that's on the hob heating up, we're going to split our vanilla bean in half. And we're going to scrape out the seeds or the caviar, depending on what you want to call it. I just call it seeds. And we're going to put the whole thing in the pot. And with our vanilla bean and the seeds in there, we're going to stir this and bring it up to a nice high temperature of 85 to 90 centigrade, which is this in Fahrenheit. We need to bring it up to the higher temperature than normal because glucosamine is actually a type of starch, and most starches need higher temperatures than a lot of the stabilizers that we use to activate completely. We don't normally do this, but we're going to leave this in the pan and we're just going to stir it for a few minutes. Want to make sure that everything's completely dissolved. You don't need to turn this into a gel before you churn it. Stabilizers, including starches, will continue to transform as they're cooling down. Like everything, it thickens as it gets cooler, and that's just the way ice cream recipes and a lot of other recipes work. The heat agitates the molecules, allows them to move more freely, and they start to cool down, the molecules get slower. So we're going to leave this here, and after a few minutes we're going to pour this in a container and pop it in the fridge overnight. So after your ice cream base is completely homogenized and you know it's all mixed together, pop it in a container and put it in the fridge. You need to get this really chilled down well, so overnight. Then after that, we're going to take it out of the fridge, fish out our vanilla bean and give it a really good stir because it's going to be quite viscous. Then pour it into your ice cream machine and get it running as normal. After 10 minutes, it'll be ready to scoop out and put it in the freezer. It's been in the freezer overnight. We're going to leave this out. Much like we did in the other versions, we're going to leave this out to warm up a bit because one thing we established is that the Turkish ice cream sellers on the street, their ice cream is served at a much higher temperature than what it would be straight out of the freezer. So there it is. We're going to leave this out for a good 5 or 10 minutes. And whilst we do that, we're going to get our Jess and Turkish coffee and get some brewed up. So to make our Turkish coffee, we're going to take 2 cups worth of water. These are little espresso cups, and 2 tablespoons of our Turkish coffee super fine powder. Get it on heat. Ideally use gas if you can, but I don't have it, so here we go. After 1 or 2 minutes, you're going to see this, and then after another couple of minutes, it's going to start doing this. At that stage, you're going to take it off and let it come back up to that boil again before you pour it into your cup, keeping all that crema. So with our Turkish coffee poured, there are different names for the type of Turkish coffee, or the serving type, I should say, depending on the amount of sugar. There is no sugar in this one, so I wanted to make sure that we had the actual flavour of this real Turkish coffee. Turkish coffee is ground ultra fine, so much finer than espresso powder is. So that now needs to sit for 2 to 3 minutes, apparently. So we can get rid of this. Something else that I wanted to touch on was Turkish ice cream and Turkish coffee. Turkish coffee was often served and is often served with something like, you know, a Turkish delight or a small sweet treat. So we have here pismani. Pronunciation is probably shocking, but it's as good as it's going to get. So let's open these up. We've got 2 of those. Looks like rock wool insulation. I think it's made by spun sugar and flour, but I will confirm that on the screen. So let's put that there. Make sure that it doesn't melt by touching our cup. Oh, it's tasty. Now, final stage of the whole Turkish 3-part series, we're going to start processing our ice cream. Now, if you remember from the first and the second parts of this, we need to get in there and mix it up. We already know that we've got a really good amount of stretch. So we're going to increase that stretch now just by manipulating it for a couple of minutes. So I started doing this with a spoon, but it was just too hard to do. As you can see, I've put in some serious effort. So out come the gloves. We're going to get our gloves on and get our hands in there. The heat from our hands will really make this process much easier. Don't go too mad, just do a minute or 2, and this is what you're left with. After 2 minutes of manipulation, got in there with a pair of gloves on, get that extra heat from my hands just to bring it up to a reasonable serving temperature. Like I said, I think this is served somewhere around -9, -10. It allows the starches to reform and create that stretch. So let's just put some in a bowl. So just in case, as we're filming, this whole thing is not about the taste. We know that we can make ice cream taste good. It's about that stretch. So you've seen on the thumbnail how stretchy this stuff actually is. Look at it. It's really good. This is exactly as you would expect it to be. Plus, we've got a really, really good combination of ingredients. It tastes incredible. It's not gummy. Beautiful vanilla flavor. Perfect, stretchy Turkish ice cream, dondurma, without salep flour, without mastic. We've got our Turkish sweets here. I think these are also from Syria, but unusual texture. Very nice though. Oops, stuck to the cup, thought it would. Very nice. Man, I'm making a mess. And finally, to finish off our Turkish ice cream series, some Turkish coffee. That is delicious. So as they say in Turkey, şerefe. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.